Hello and a warm welcome to today's webinar, Greening SMEs Towards a Just Transition from Policies to Practice, hosted by the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership and the Donor Committee for Enterprise Development and supported by the International Labour Organization. I'm Hannes McNulty, Green Industry Platform Manager with the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership, or GGKP for short. This is the fourth webinar in the series, Expert Insights to Support Effective Green Private Sector Development, organized jointly by GGKP and the Donor Committee for Enterprise Development. The last webinar, Beyond COP28, Advancing Biodiversity Finance for Global Climate Impact, held in December, considered the significance of biodiversity finance in halting and reversing the loss of biodiversity and ecosystem services. Today's webinar will look at good practices and lessons learned in relation to the implementation of policies and support services that promote environmental sustainability and decent work among small and medium-sized enterprises, or known as SMEs. By delving into concrete examples from Indonesia, Kenya, Kyrgyzstan, and Mauritius, this webinar aims to shed light on what works to empower SMEs to mitigate climate risks and seize new opportunities with a view to creating more and better jobs. Now, as we are very keen to adapt today's webinar to your needs, we really encourage you to submit questions throughout the discussion in the dedicated Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. Please therefore make sure not to use the chat for your specific questions to the speakers, but rather just use it for comments and discussion within the audience. Today's moderator is Marlon de la Chaux, technical expert on productivity and working conditions with the International Labour Organization. But please first let me hand over to Sarah Gundy, Just Transition Officer, also with the International Labour Organization, to set the scene for today's webinar. Over to you, Sarah.
Thanks so much, and welcome to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today and to set the scene for this webinar. So let me start by sharing my screen first of all. Just gonna ask you. Yes. So here we are. So before entering into the different presentations and the discussions, we wanted to set the scene about what just transition is and what it means for SMEs. So the ILO has really developed an understanding since many years and has been engaged when it comes to just transition. And in particular, in 2015, the ILO and tripartite experts, so representative of governments, employers, and workers, developed the Just Transition guidelines, which includes principles related to just transition, so entry points in terms of policy making for just transition. And that includes social dialogue, respect for fundamental rights and principles at work, but also gender equality, policy coherence, to name a few. And most recently, at the last International Labour Conference, so that's where our constituents, governments, representative of workers, and employers come together to discuss important matters for the work of work. And last year, there's been a general discussion on just transition with the adoption of a resolution and conclusions. And really, what is the resolution puts forward what just transition is. And it says that just transition promotes environmentally sustainable economies in a way that is inclusive, that creates decent work opportunities, and that reduce inequalities by leaving no one behind. So it is about maximizing the social and economic opportunities of climate and environmental action, while at the same time having this enabling environment for sustainable enterprises, and also minimizing and carefully managing any challenges that may arise from the transition. And what is very important is that sometimes you will hear that just transition is for the workforce or for workers. That is true, but just transition is for all. So that means not only workers, but also communities, women, indigenous and tribal people, youth, but also enterprises, investors, and SMEs. So let's just look a little bit deeper and see how businesses are impacted by climate change. And let me just reduce that. Yes. And so what is really important to see is that businesses are going to be impacted in different ways. And first of all, there is a business risk because climate change is directly linked to business risks, because the likelihood and impact risk from environmental change, be it, heat stresses, floods, that has really increased over the last years, is really important for businesses, and they need to manage those risks. It's also about business resilience, because we see that actually SMEs, that actually companies are 5 times less likely to lay off workers and are more likely to have stable sales if they are able to be resilient. And that's from the ITC SMEs Competitiveness Outlook. So we see that resilience will be really key in tackling the very likely impact of environmental and climate changes that are going to be arising over the coming years. And it's also about efficiency and productivity, because we see by 2030, 2 to 5% of working hours will be lost because it's going to be too hot to work on this planet. So we will need also, that's going to have a big impact on business, and that's increasing the business risk. So just to see from the global risk report of the World Economic Forum, you can see in green the environmental relating risks, and that's over a 2 years period. So from 2023, so you see already there's quite a lot of green in that list. But if you look in 10 years, it's going to be a lot more. So you see that the prevalence of environmental and climate related risks, including for businesses over the coming years. And so just to also look at, we have the ILO guidelines, we have the ILO resolution, and they provide really those entry points, as I was saying, on about how you can actually address a just transition. And there are also references in particular to the resilience of businesses, in particular MSMEs, to having special attention to their needs in the ILO guidelines. And also in the resolution, there are specific references. So now there is really an understanding by the World of Work constituents of the importance to focus on MSMEs in a just transition context. And lastly, just to dig a little bit deeper and look at what just transition mean for MSMEs. So we know that climate change will really impact the resilience, the productivity, and the profitability of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. And so it is really critical to bring support to greening the SMEs to secure future economic and decent jobs opportunities that are going to arise from the transition, and thereby making it a just transition. We know that the SME's motivation for taking part in a just transition mainly arise from 3 categories. So it's market driven. So it's the pursuit of new market opportunities that really triggers also MSME's interest to engage in a greening and engage in a just transition. It's also compliance driven, because we know there are different policies with focus on environmental and climate issues, such as carbon tax or environmental laws governing air pollution or biodiversity, that are also affecting MSMEs. And so that's also a key driver for them to engage in this area. And then it's lastly resilience driven, because it's about to mitigate the negative impacts of climate change on business. And really by investing in greening the business, MSMEs indicate that they can improve resilience, both in terms of business operation and retaining employees. But there are, of course, key barriers, and I think we will hear a lot of examples on that today about market access, lack of information, technical skills, access to finance, and also in terms of productivity. And all of that needs to be looked at in the framework of both mitigation, but also adaptation measures to climate change and tailored to the specificities of each situation and each country. So I'll be there, happy to answer any questions you might have. Just to answer that the ILO has produced these just transition policy briefs on how MSMEs can contribute and benefit from a just transition. And I'll be sharing the link of that in the chat. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for this excellent overview on what a just transition means for MSMEs. So hello, everyone. Also from me, I have the role today to lead us through a very exciting panel discussion. So we have 4 presentations, 4 short spotlight talks that will highlight different areas, technical areas around enabling a just transition for MSMEs. I will not speak for long, but I will hand over to our panelists so that we have the maximum time to hear from them. Very first up, I'd like to introduce Dev Apalswamy and Shalini Matevan. Both of them are from the National Productivity and Competitiveness Council in Mauritius. Dev is the Director for Capacity Development and Shalini the lead on the Productivity and Competitiveness Academy. And together, they have both been instrumental in the implementation of major projects and capacity building initiatives to promote productivity, as well as at the intersection of environmental sustainability in Mauritius. So Dev and Shalini, over to you. We're looking forward to hearing about the good work you're doing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Marlene, and thank you for giving us this opportunity. To begin with, I must say that we are productivity practitioners. We are not expert in climate change or environmental issues. So we look at everything from a productivity perspective point of view. So we are all aware that the basic aim of productivity is to make tomorrow better than today. But the question is, how do we make the tomorrow of our people better? What is the present context? We are all aware that the world population is projected to grow to around 1.5 billion very soon. And as a result, demand for different types of materials is expected to grow, especially to meet our needs as human beings. The amount of waste is consequently expected to increase, and environmental problems are expected to become more serious. But there's still hope, given some waste still has much to offer in terms of potential benefit for business and society under the circular economic model, while protecting the planet for future generations. We need to balance development and growth. And this is even more important for a country like Mauritius, small island developing state, as we are much more vulnerable to environmental calamities. So how do we get our enterprises interested to join this bandwagon of productivity and protection of the environment? We know that productivity is expressed as the ratio of outputs to inputs. We are also aware that not all outputs are good. Some of the outputs will be in the form of waste, scrap, emissions, and pollutants. And apart from the effect on the environment and the planet, they cost the business money. So we needed to come up with an approach to productivity improvement where we address these negative outputs, and at the same time, we make our business and our environment better. We started initially by identifying waste and looking at ways to reduce it. We have been looking at the whole process of producing goods and services and innovating to redesign the product or process to avoid creating waste and other negative outputs. More recently, we have been looking at how to bring back waste to the value chain. So we have been using lean management concepts and the green productivity model of the Asian Productivity Organization in our early years from 2000 to 2010. 2010 onwards, we use the concept of C productivity, which was coined by the World Council of Productivity Science around 2008. I have put this diagram here because it is relevant to the philosophy of the ILO, this network, and to what we are doing presently with the support of the ILO. So to be sustainable in the longer term, organizations, regions, as well as nations, we need to improve all of social, environmental, and economic productivities so that their operations are socially equitable, the part of this network, environmentally bearable, and economically viable. All three together makes sustainability. From 2019, just before the pandemic, we have been working with the ILO using the SCORE methodology, Sustaining Competitive and Responsible Enterprises, whereby 5 NPCC consultants were certified SCORE trainers. And during the pandemic, we implemented an important project in collaboration with the ILO, which was Operation Co-Share, whereby we implemented occupational health and safety protocols in tourist enterprises to enable a safe opening of our borders, followed by resource efficiency in 25 enterprises, and another 5 of our consultants were certified SCORE trainers. More recently, we implemented climate resource efficiency in 10 enterprises. The project is called EconoBiz, which is make your business economic and ecological. This has been done in collaboration with the Minister of Environment and the Human Resource Development Council. And this is what Shalini now is going to share with you our experience on this project. Shalini, over to you now.
Thank you, Dave. As Dave mentioned, we've successfully implemented EconoBiz in 10 enterprises, and the range of project undertaken by these enterprises is diverse, encompassing initiative aimed at reducing water and electricity consumption, as well as recycling and upcycling fabric and scrap waste, among others. To ensure the successful implementation of this project and to help these enterprises achieve their desired impact, NPCC provided support and training over a period of 3 months. The training was based on the ILO's Core for Climate program. In the next slide, I'll show you insights of how some of the SMEs have strategically integrated environmental and economic consideration into their day-to-day operation. Here, ASI is engaged in the manufacturing of baby wear. The company faced numerous challenges in terms of waste generation, and there were no practice in place to reduce the waste to release space and to reduce its impact on the environment. The solution that we implemented here was to improve the marker efficiency to reduce fabric waste at source, and leftover fabric from the previous production runs were sorted based on colors, type, and size. These leftover fabric were cut into strips of appropriate width and sewn or attached onto the edges of baby clothes as binding. So here we achieved 105 kilo of waste converted into binding, which resulted into a cost saving of 36,750. For Ada Creation, it's a family-owned garment maker business. They specialize in producing custom-made uniform and accessories for clients and individuals. The challenge Ada faced here was the inventory management, and to address this challenge, an inventory audit was made to assess and document the available fabric. And they also repurposed dead stock fabric to create new products and reducing waste. Here you can see 825 meters of dead stock was identified, and out of which 262 were repurposed in the production of new orders, and 25 meters of dead stock were converted into friendly packaging bags. In this, for Ash Comfort Zone Limited, it's they manufacture custom-made and design furniture. So here, the challenge they faced was there was an constant increase in their energy bill. And the simple solutions that they implemented, like they conducted an energy audit, then upgraded their lighting system. That is, they install new switch in the office to ensure that the switch were on only when needed. And here they could see the electricity bill was reduced by 10%. For Island Milk.
Shalini, sorry to come in. 5 minutes past quickly. I'm going to have to ask you to start concluding on these very interesting insights.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So what we'll do, I'll ask Dave to complete the presentation. If we cannot hear you, Dave.
Okay, thank you. So our ongoing project with the ILO is the Operation Co-Share Phase 2, whereby we are implementing ISCO for climate in around another 10 enterprises. And in a nutshell, what we have been doing is supporting enterprises to improve productivity, improve their bottom line, and at the same time, to reduce stress on their environment. With this, I'm going to end, and thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dev and Shalini, for these very interesting insights on making the business case to SMEs for going green. We're now going to turn to another very important area, which is the role of insurance in promoting a just transition for MSMEs. And for this, I welcome our next panelist, Lisa Maru, who is the Head of Innovation for Emerging Customers at Britam's insurance company. She is based in Kenya, where she's championing innovative solutions for low and middle income households, including with a view to climate change, resilience, and adaptation. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you so much, Marlene. Thanks everyone for joining this webinar. And what we want to show you as Britam is how we're actually tackling just transition through a climate adaptation perspective. And I'll take you through a case study that we've done and running on some insights from a pilot that we conducted, particularly targeting MSMEs in a flood-prone region. So generally, Britam, as an overview, is a financially diversified services group. We are present in 7 countries within Africa, and we sell both general insurance, microinsurance, as well as other financial services. Our main target market is actually MSMEs, and they actually cover a huge bit of our premium revenue. And so one key solution for us would be, how do we ensure that they remain resilient despite the climate changes and volatility that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis? So as Britam, we came up with the parametric flood insurance solution, largely because in the market, the products that were being developed were focusing on farmers. And so they were tailored towards agricultural practices. However, we chose to use a lens where we are looking at small businesses. And so we're able to create a product, particularly for businesses and lives that are located in flood-prone regions. So just to give you an overview of how floods is in Kenya, on a yearly basis, we have around 3.5 million lives affected by floods, both in the urban as well as rural areas in Kenya. And 500,000 of those lives are actually displaced. And if you look at the blue, the deep blue regions, is where we tend to see the highest displacement happening. And this is largely due to riverine flooding. So with that happening, we also see some infrastructure damages, and yet MSMEs are the backbone of Kenya's economy, running about 98% of all business entities, and they employ 80% of the Kenya's working class. So this truly impacts the citizens within the different counties in Kenya. So as Britam, one key focus was to create a solution, an adaptation solution, particularly for MSMEs as well as for vulnerable households in the flood-prone region. So just to give you a highlight of how this product works, as opposed to the usual crop insurance, is here we're looking at the satellite data to map out the rainfall in the upstream of the river, and also combining that with the river gauge level, which is downstream, and close to where the MSMEs and the small businesses are actually located. So with that, we are able to create a dual index and make payouts based on specific metrics being met. We ran a pilot for this program, this product, particularly in the flood-prone region of Tana River. And the reason why we chose this area is that most of the households live around close to the river just to be able to meet the economic activities, whether it's agriculture or to run businesses. But at the same time, they're also prone or vulnerable to floods when they occur as a result of the river banks actually expanding. So we were targeting areas where there was high population and high number of businesses. And so we ran a pilot and ensured about 300 households, of which case 58% were actually MSMEs. This county is particularly very vulnerable, has very vulnerable small businesses with their net income being less than $80 per month. And most of the business owners are retail traders, for household hardware, as well as agricultural inputs. And so they are very reliant on the government and humanitarian organizations to handle any crises that arises due to flooding. So with this product, we're able to make some payments due to the El Nino rainfall last year, and made payout of around $86,000 to all the 300 households, which was able to support and enable them to even set up new businesses upstream and higher up from the rivers, and so created a resilience mechanism, particularly for these groups. So as next steps, we see this being able to scale from a sub-sovereign level, particularly in that specific county. But at the same time, we see a business case of it being applied to urban areas where most of the MSMEs are, and where we can target an index-based insurance product, particularly tailored for MSMEs. Since we're seeing more frequent flooding occurring, especially in areas such as Nairobi and Mombasa. And so that would be very a big way in which we can support in building resilience for small businesses in Kenya. Yeah, that is just a nutshell of what exactly we've done, and looking forward to any questions. So back to you, Marlene.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lisa, for this very interesting reflection on how insurances can promote a just transition for SMEs, and especially promote resilience and adaptation. I want to say quickly that if there are questions to our panelists, please use the Q&A function. I can see over 200 participants are connected, so please do type your questions in, and we can get to them and answer them. Also, all of the slides that you're seeing will be shared with you later, as will a recording of the webinar. With that, we're going to move to yet another topic with a new speaker. We have next up Jeff Cristiano, who is the chairperson of the Business and Export Development Organization based in Indonesia, where he has been instrumental in promoting productivity and resource efficiency over the past 15 years. He will give us a reflection on the role of sustainability standards and environmental standards for SMEs. So Jeff, looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Marlene. Glad to be here. I will share my my insights from as the SME organization that support SME for exporting. At the moment, we always heard about sustainability standards that many SME need to apply, but for some SME, the standards become challenges for us. As you know, this after the COVID-19, the world is changing. Before, people are already aware about sustainability, but after the COVID-19, people are more aware. People are more concerned about sustainability issues, and they want to dig more, and they want to learn more about it. And if you see on this data, in the last 5 years, in the European retail, like the increase of the demand of the sustainability product is very high, it's almost over 90%. And we predict in the next 5 years, it also increase more and more. If you see on clothing, will be 98%, and computer, in food, 97% there's a demand for sustainability products. Yeah. This European market are mainly our traditional market for Asian export. Yeah, so we export a lot to the European market. So in this situation, we need to understand what is the demand from the customers. We understand that the market is become not only more mature, but also the people are more aware on the transparency, especially the new generation, yeah, the Gen Z and the millennial, that actually they are the one who buy our products. Yeah, they demand and they ask more about this sustainable products. And then of course, when there's a customer demand, it's also because there is the legal issue. I think most of you already heard about EUDR, about the demand about product that not contribute to the deforestation. If you see the top 7 commodities of EU contribution to deforestation is palm oil, soy, wood, cacao, coffee, cattle, and rubber. 6 from 7 product is from Indonesia. Mainly we export this product. So Indonesia exporter as a supply chain for our market in Europe become there's a big demand, big pressure to us to have more sustainable standards. And this EUDR become more pressure, because also not only apply for the big companies, but also it also will go to the small and mid company in 2025. Yeah. So when we supply to small medium business as well in Europe, this also become something that we need to consider. So what is the problem with the standard? Problem is there's too many standards. Yeah, there's a sector standard. If you see on the right side, there's eco labels, there is FSC, there is any Rainforest Alliance, but also there is standard for cross-sectoral. For example, the Big Corps, Ampori BSCI. If we join our trade fair overseas, and then you can see in every booth now they show so many logo on their wall. It means how many certification they have. What does that mean for our supply chain, for us as exporter? It means we need to spend a lot of money for that, yeah, because different buyer ask different standard, different sustainability standard. So at the end, the producer have to pay for all this expensive audit. Yeah, this is something that we want to address as a small and medium-sized business organization. So of course, we cannot deny this demand, because this is come from buyer. But what we can do is to work on our to do what we can do. In we see sustainability is like this in the 3 area. Certification is the top one, that something that you need to achieve, even it's a Big Corp, ISO, or Ampori. But before you get certification, you need to have a good foundation. What is the good foundation? It is a good governance. we call it a sustainable action plan. So in SCORE, I also support our organization, BEDO, to implement SCORE for climate. SCORE for climate is a good tool to make an action plan for our SME to be ready to be certified. At least they know how to do the good things, understand what is the sustainability standard, and understand what to do. Is this from the resource efficiency on material, energy, water, and chemical, and also waste management. And then after you understand the action plan, you also make some good action plan on sustainability, you can make your self-claim sustainability report. So we work together with one university in Indonesia, Parahyangan University. We make a sustainability report. We support more than 300 SME to make their sustainability report. Some of the company that cannot afford to get the Amfori BSCI or B Corp certification, we suggest them to make sustainability report first, yeah, and then show this to their buyer. So it's like a foundation for them. When they are ready, then they can have the good report. We also work a lot with some organization that support us, and I think we need a lot of organization that can able to support SME in this kind of level. Like we work with PUM in the Netherlands. They support us to give training about how to have energy efficiency by using solar energy. We give training this to more than 30 enterprise. Okay, almost the end.
Great, Jeff. Thank you. If you can come to your conclusion, yes, thanks.
Okay, and then also this is the last one. We work together also with the Co-Water Canada to how to make a sustainability report. Yeah. So my conclusion is we should not give up. That of course, as an exporter, we need to be in line with the demand of the buyers, but also we need to be ready first before we get audited, because to be audited, we spend a lot of money, but we need to make our business become more sustainable, practice sustainability. I think that's all for me. Thank you so much, Marlene.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff, for these really interesting insights on the opportunities, but also the difficulties around sustainability reporting for SMEs. Now, last but certainly not least, I come to our next speaker, Mr. Kubanic Alimov, who will reflect on the role of policies to promote a just transition for MSMEs. So Mr. Alimov is the chairman of the Green Committee of the GIA Business Association in Kyrgyzstan, and he was also recently awarded as a green entrepreneur by the Kyrgyz Ministry of Economy and Commerce. So Kubanic, I hand over to you for your spotlight presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. I can just show my presentation. Just a second. Yes, I'm a chairman in Green Economy Committee in GIA Association in Kyrgyzstan, and I heard my friends from another countries. It's approximately it's a problem, and how we're doing in the same. I think in our country, the government of Kyrgyzstan is committed to advancing to inclusive sustainable growth. At the moment, we work and GIA Association work closely with Minister of Economy at the moment and with JZ, and our government have a plan strategy 2040, which recognizes the importance of integrated policies that balance the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of the development. And our government has prepared a 5-year development program that provided a medium-term framework for all national, including those linked to the environment and climate change. By the way, in last year in November, we organized with Minister of Economy. It's a Green Economy Forum and exhibition, and this organization visited more than 1,000 employers and organization, and from our neighborhood countries, we invite also SMEs from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, from Russia, and then came to also from Turkey. Just a second. How I can to just a second. At the moment, we have a sector-level policies. The government adopted Green Economy Development Program for last for 5 years, and the program indicated 7 priority areas: is a green economy, green energy, green agriculture, green industries, low carbon, environmentally friendly transportation, and sustainable tourism. GIA Business Association at the moment, we're planning to also organize a forum. It's a waste management forum. It's a first one in Kyrgyzstan Republic, and then we're planning to organize this on April 20. And our government authorized developed sectors policies for the reform monitoring process to the support of implementers. And then we have plan to the future for this waste management forum. Our members visited, and we can show how we increase our green economy way, and how we work with MSMEs for future. And then at the moment we have more activities. Just transition should be arranged at the grassroots level of enterprises that are committed for have interested in green economy, but do not know where to start from. Yeah, and then but this is one of the most important elements and focus of the Green Economy Development Program until 2028. And then we work very closely with Minister of Economy and Minister of Nature, and from our government also. GIA Business Association was part of the training on the International Labour Organization, and then we at the moment work with them, and we promoting or just transition toward environmentally sustainable economy in Kyrgyzstan. In November last year, we trained and trained 13 trained consultants considered by Iceland. It's a coaching visits to 13 selected enterprises, and in the following priority sectors, it's manufacturing, textile industry, agro processing, food industry. And then and by my side, we work with I'm also trainer, and we work with Horeca. We change their boiler house, coal boiler houses to the gas boiler houses, and we work with this company at the moment. And GIA believe that SCORE program and its SCORE for climate model should be expanded to the other MSMEs of Kyrgyzstan. And then at the moment, we have a problem with green finance. And then after the training, mainly MSMEs maybe find green finance from government or from another companies. And then this role enterprise empowerment team at the MSMEs level is bilateral social ideology coming from the enterprises development team. And then we established the trans and selection enterprises in the starting the application of approaches and methods purposes. The 8 concept of the board, workers and employers responsibilities. Certainly they have the percentage of workers in the certain each is 63 and female, and members of each is 40%. And then mainly in these companies have a problem. I said this is a problem with green finance problem, And at the moment we have also planned to next 4 years. We very close work with our Minister of Economy, and then how we increase our to information our people, how we increase our green economy. Yeah, and just all by my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very insightful set of reflections on policies, regional, national, and subnational for just transition for SMEs. Very insightful. So we now move from these spotlight talks that I think have given have highlighted different elements that need to be in place to support or facilitate the adoption of environmentally sustainable practices among SMEs to a more interactive Q&A session. So for that, I ask all of the panelists to switch on their videos. And I think Mr. Alimov, if you could end the screen share from your side so that we can see all the panelists, that would be great. Thank you. I see a number of interesting questions pouring in from the Q&A function, but please, if you have further questions, post them so that we can discuss them. Now is the time. I want to start off with several questions that were asked around the commercial viability and the sustainability of the support services and products that facilitate a just transition for MSMEs, and your experiences and reflections on that. So a couple of those questions were directed at Lisa, specifically on the insurance product, but then I think also other panelists might want to come in as well. But Lisa, I'll hand over to you as a first response.
Thank you, Marlene. So I think our perspective as Britam is that a risk like flood is supposed to be on a sub-sovereign or at the very least sovereign level. So there has to be some government support in running the program. And so this has to be a collaboration both between the government as well as the private sector to make it sustainable. Because with the frequent and volatile climatic conditions, particularly in Kenya, what we're seeing is that the affordability of such products are quite low. And so there has to be some government intervention to be able to make sure that the products remain sustainable. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Lisa. And I'm looking at the other panelists, Jeff, Deb, Shalini, Mr. Alimov, does anybody want to complement with their experiences on how do we make the support services for SMEs sustainable? I see that Dev has unmuted himself. Dev, did you want to come in, or Jeff, did you want to come in? Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, from my perspective, is to supporting to SME is not only to give them the knowledge about sustainability, but also to give them update information on the current market that the demand of the current market and how the international organization can support this SME by providing the some sustainable standards. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a good starting point on this question. Dev or Shalini, did you want to add anything on maybe the capacity building services that you run and how you ensure commercial viability of those?
No, from our part, as I mentioned earlier, our challenge has been to get them on board, but we have been able to bring them on board, the SMEs especially, by bringing it to the bottom line. So how we protect the environment and at the same time we improve the productivity and bottom line of the enterprises. Okay. And then this is how we can make them to sustainable businesses for the future.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Great. So if there are no more insights from the panelists or reflections on this question, we do have quite a few very interesting questions also coming into the Q&A function. So I would propose, because we don't have a lot of time, as always in these types of events, that we move to another very interesting and very challenging question. This is around the role of digitalization. And the question, I'll just read it out, is: can you provide insights or examples on how MSMEs can effectively integrate digitalization and sustainability practices to enhance their resilience and contribute to a more sustainable future? So I don't know if that speaks to any of the panelists and their work. Any reflections on the role of digital?
I can come in here, Marlene. At the level of the NPCC, what we have done, of course, we did it with the support of the UNDP and the Japanese government. We have developed a platform where we have included several modules. Yeah, several modules with regards to enable SMEs to digitalize operations. I think it's very, very costly for SMEs to invest in infrastructure to digitalize. So we have developed a platform. Presently, we have 4. I'll just rapidly tell you the modules. You have sales automation, inventory management, production management, enterprise marketing management, and service management. So we are supporting the SMEs who are interested. We have already around 15 SMEs on that, and in different sectors. And this is where we have invested, and even our government now is investing more on this platform to have additional modules. So we support the SMEs by trying to lean their processes and then help them to onboard the platform. Otherwise, if you get SMEs to invest individually, it becomes very costly. And this one, they pay a monthly fee. So it's more operational expenditure rather than big capital expenditure, big investment. I don't know if this answers a little bit, just to share what we are doing here in Mauritius.
Very interesting. Yeah, thanks for that, Dev. And I see also Mr. Alimov has unmuted himself to come in.
Yeah. By my side, I have experience the heating systems, and then it's a hot water. How can I say for this way? Every SMEs have a problem with electricity at the moment. Electricity, wastewater, and then gas consumption and coal consumption at the moment, and then every company have you want to change this old equipment to the new technologies, and then in this way they have a problem for the financing problem at the moment. And I think is and every government give support for this way, change to new technologies, and then reduce water consumption and gas consumption, etc. And then for this way, we changed for the future, I mean.
Thank you. Yes, very interesting. Also, addition to what Dev was outlining with the subscription model to reduce the costs for SMEs. Lisa, Jeff, I'm looking at both of you. Is there anything that you'd like to add in terms of reflections on the intersection of digitalization and environmental sustainability for SMEs? We leave it there. That's good because we have many interesting questions coming in through the Q&A function. So that means that we then have time for one more question maybe. And I also just want to emphasize that to everybody listening in, you can also follow up bilaterally with the panelists. I'm sure they would be happy to answer further questions if we don't have time to get to all of them now in this short webinar. We've had another question around policies to support MSMEs in the just transition. And so we have a participant from South Africa who says, well, we have found that a number of MSMEs are playing a vital role in the just transition and / green economy. But through research, we've seen that red tape and policies have been in the way of these MSMEs. What needs to be done to have policy actually support MSMEs in the just transition? This is a very broad question. Policy is a very broad field, especially when it comes to just transition, but perhaps there are reflections in your work, in your specific areas on sort of specific policies pertaining to your work areas and how that could link to just transition. The floor is open to whoever wants to take it. Dev, go ahead. I see that you've unmuted yourself.
Yeah, no, in terms of policies, how do we develop policies? That is very much important. How do you get the facts, the data, what's happening on the field? Now in most in African countries, I don't know in Mauritius, if it is done by the ministry at a certain level, developing policy, the government, without the information from the ground, what is happening, then you can't develop the right policy that will support the organization, especially SMEs and MSMEs. This is where it is important to get them on board, to try to get the ideas from them first. What is the need, the exact need? When we do research, it should be applied research. We just don't do research for the sake of research to develop policy. It should be very much applied. And this is where the context also become important. Whatever program, how do we touch base with the enterprises, with the SMEs, trying to making policies and ensure whatever type of support we are giving them, they are going to make use of that. Okay, the monitoring also all along the way is very important. A little bit of the thinking that we have had, whatever programs, strategy we have developed to support SMEs. Very much focus group discussions with them, trying to know what are their needs first.
Thank you for that, Jeff. Yeah, on the importance of bottom-up processes also around policy development. Thank you. I'm also looking at Jeff, who provided a reflection on sort of the role of regulation and sustainability standards. Jeff, maybe in your work, are there any reflections around what type of policies are important to have in place to support SMEs on a just transition?
Yeah, I think what the most important also to the government understand the needs of the SME in the sustainability issues. That's why in our country now, we work together with our government to have some program with them for, like at the moment we have the sustainability reporting standard together with the Ministry of Trade of Indonesia. So together we have some discussion. We met our small and medium-sized businesses to understand what is the need and what is the challenges for them to be sustainable. So in previous years, even until now, we still have some regulation, some policy for SME to follow some standard from government. For example, in the waste management. And the government will give you a label, green, red, black label for the SME if you contribute waste to the river. But now we work together with the SME and with the government work together with SME to listen to each others. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. Now, the sort of the role of regulation as well, right, within the policy space is really one that's really coming out quite strongly in many countries. Yeah. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I think maybe we see this more as a start of a conversation, for sure. These webinars are always, there's too little time and there are too many topics to cover. I want to say a huge thank you to the nearly 200 participants that dialed in today and for asking such interesting and thought-provoking questions. A big thank you to our panelists who have spent their afternoons, evenings, and even time on a public holiday to present today to you and to share their work. A big thank you also to the DCED and the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership for hosting the webinar. And then a huge, huge thanks to Cheryl Chan, who is also a technical officer with the ILO, and who is the brains behind this webinar, and who is the one that has put together this very interesting, and I hope you agree, insightful program for us all today. So a huge thank you also to Cheryl, who's in the background with her video turned off, but is really the master of this webinar. So thank you very much. The recording will be made available, as will the PowerPoint presentations, and have a good rest of your afternoon, rest of your evening, rest of your day. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.